So a few days ago, Rockstar dropped the contract DLC for GTA Online, and on the surface this is actually a pretty cool update. The cars are nice, albeit way too expensive for my taste, but the agency business and the accompanying contracts with Franklin and Dr. Dre are awesome, plus the Franklin and Lamar co-op missions are a really cool addition as well. So overall, it's a pretty cool update, but in the process of implementing all of this new content, Rockstar changed something in the handling files of all 17 of the Los Santos Tuners DLC vehicles, effectively killing their driftability. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking everything down and explaining what I think happened and what we as a community can do about it. So what exactly happened? Now, at first I wasn't quite sure, and I actually found out about this change by accident. So essentially, I had logged on just after the DLC dropped on December 15th. I was looking at all the new content, and after this, I pulled out my Dinka RT3000 to get some clips for an updated drift tuning guide that I was working on. And as soon as I tried drifting around with this car, I noticed that the engine was revving really inconsistently, and the mid-drive speed boost just wasn't working. Now, if you guys aren't aware already, the mid-drive speed boost is basically a gearing bug that involves tapping the handbrake in between second and third gear to give your car a significant speed boost, which helps to break traction and ultimately makes it easy to hold out really long drifts. So basically, whenever I attempted to do this in my RT3000, the car basically acted as if I had shifted into neutral. So essentially, it would just start smacking rev limiter, the car would fall flat on its face and just wouldn't move any faster. Furthermore, in those lower speed drifts, it just felt as though the car had some weird overpowered traction control that was preventing it from losing traction, and it made the revs fluctuate as if I were tapping the handbrake when I wasn't. I also took out a few of the other tuner vehicles that I had set up for drifting, and it was the exact same story. So basically, whatever change Rockstar had made, these LS tuner vehicles just didn't want to drift anymore. Now, all of these signs point to one thing that was changed in the handling metadata of these cars, and this is the addition of the STR advanced flags line of code. More specifically, the flags that are labeled 0x20000 and 0x10000. Now, the addition of these two lines of code to each of the handling files of the new tuner vehicles means a few things. First, it alters the gearing in such a way that causes the cars to short shift in every gear, all while causing weird fluctuations in the engine revs during wheel spin or any loss of traction, and at top speed. Additionally, it prevents you from being able to engage the mid-drive speed boost as I mentioned earlier, and it also prevents you from using a tactic called curb boosting, which is another strategy the racing community uses to pick up speed basically just by hitting bumps in the road. And also, the changes to gearing drastically reduce the top speed of these cars. Now, this information is sourced directly from a forum post that was made by Adam10603 on one of Broughy's forums, who explored these handling flags back when they were first added to vehicles in the Arena War DLC in 2018. I will have that post and a couple videos that Broughy1322 made about the same topic linked in the description if you want to find out more. I haven't actually been able to delve deep into the handling files of the LS Tuner vehicles to see if this is the exact change that was made, but all my research has pointed to the addition of the advanced handling flags being that culprit in limiting the driftability of these cars. Now, before I move on, I do want to make a note that yes, technically these cars are still driftable. With enough practice and enough finesse, you can definitely still drift some of these LS Tuners cars like the Dinka RT3000 and the Kirin Futo GTX decently well. However, doing so is much harder than it was previously because again, you cannot utilize the mid-drive speed boost, nor can you make extensive use of the handbrake without causing that weird neutral shift that I talked about earlier. The fact that these cars now seem to cut power for the sake of retaining traction also means that longer drifts are pretty much impossible without enough entry speed, and even then it's hard to maintain that speed during a drift. On the screen right now, I will have some footage of drifting before and after the addition of the contract DLC to show this. I knew it's gonna be easier. Yeah, exactly. It is. It's way easier. Oh, dude, I'm like fully. Sheesh! Damn, boys, y'all see that? Oh my god. Did y'all see that? That was nuts. Give that a watch. Holy hell. So why did this happen? Now, really the only reason I think Rockstar would implement such a drastic change to the LS Tuner cars was to reverse any odd performance effects onset by the low grip tires and lowered stance options that were available for these vehicles. Now, if you guys didn't notice already, combining low grip tires as well as the lowered stance on all of the LS Tuner vehicles drastically improves their top speed far beyond any of the supercars in the game. So for context, a lot of the higher end cars right now tend to have a top speed in the 120 to 130 mile per hour range, but most of the LS Tuner cars with low grip tires and a lowered stance could reach a top speed between 150 and 160 miles per hour. Maybe this was just Rockstar's band-aid fix to rebalance these cars, given how differently the LS Tuner cars were from any of the other DLC vehicles that we had gotten previously. Now, another possibility, which is a little bit less likely, is that they made these LS Tuner cars they're like guinea pigs and are basically testing different handling attributes in preparation for GTA 5 Expanded and Enhanced, which kind of makes sense given that they mentioned the addition of new speed upgrades. Or if the game is not already in development hell, this is potentially for GTA 6. It's clear that Rockstar was experimenting with new changes to the physics back when the original LS Tuners update dropped, so maybe they wanted to see what other changes that they can make when the contract update dropped. This might also explain why they're trying to keep this change under wraps, because it was mentioned nowhere in the contract DLC's patch notes. Now, we can speculate all we want about why Rockstar implemented such a change, but the fact still remains that Rockstar wasn't aware of or just didn't care about the negative effects that these handling flags would have on all of the LS Tuner vehicles. Now, I feel like it's already pretty obvious that I'm not a fan of Rockstar's decision to add all of these advanced handling flags to the LS Tuners cars. My main reason for why this wasn't a smart move is that Rockstar has, in their infinite wisdom, pretty much invalidated their decision to add low grip tires and lowered stance in the first place. Why the hell would Rockstar add new mechanics to allow people to drift these new tuner cars, only for them to go back and change these mechanics in such a way that prevents you from being able to drift them? People were so excited to see these changes added to the game, and it's a real kick in the face for Rockstar to go back on that. Plus, in the process, I think Rockstar has also wasted a bunch of their own resources with making all these changes. And that's not even mentioning the cost of the LS Tuner vehicles. Each of these cars cost millions of dollars between the initial purchase and the upgrades applied afterwards. So imagine spending millions of dollars and a lot of time setting up these cars for drifting, only for their handling to be arbitrarily changed so that you just can't drift them anymore, or at least you just can't drift them as well as you were previously able to. It's yet another kick in the face to me and a slew of other GTA 5 content creators and members of the drifting community, as we've spent countless hours and GTA dollars dedicated to learning how the LS Tuner cars work and also teaching others how to drift them through our own content. Overall, it seems like Rockstar just wasn't aware of, or again, just didn't really care about how much fun the community had drifting with the new LS Tuner vehicles. Just look at the countless videos on YouTube showcasing it. Rockstar single-handedly helped to foster a much larger drifting community with these LS Tuner cars and the lowered stance and the low grip tires, but now the addition of these handling flags has made drifting much harder for seemingly no reason. Now, I get that Rockstar might have added such handling flags to rebalance these cars, but in the first place, did these LS Tuner cars even need balancing? I mean, the addition of low grip tires and the lowered stance was only really useful for drifting and straight line racing, and as far as I've seen, have had really no drastic effects on the racing meta. I feel like I could rant about this for hours, but at the end of the day, I believe that the addition of these handling flags to the LS Tuner vehicles was a half-assed band-aid fix to a much more fundamental issue in GTA 5's vehicle mechanics. In doing so, Rockstar has invalidated some of the primary additions of the LS Tuners update and has also nerfed a bunch of awesome drift cars. So what can we actually do about this? Now, in reality, I think that the chances of us getting through to Rockstar are pretty slim, because Rockstar still hasn't gone back on their decision to add handling flags to cars from the Arena War DLC, even after facing a ton of pushback from the community. So therefore, I really don't think they're going to go back and change the LS Tuner vehicles once again. However, if this change was simply experimental, there is a small chance that Rockstar might reverse their decision, but this can only happen if we as a community band together to let Rockstar know how badly they screwed up. So long as Rockstar goes back to change one line of code in the handling files of each of these LS Tuner vehicles, GTA 5's car community will once again have access to a slew of awesome drift cars, and the millions of dollars that they spend on these cars will not go to waste. And I think it's logical for us to let Rockstar know how we feel about this. So with that in mind, in the description of this video, I will have a message that you can copy and paste into the GTA Online feedback page, which I will also have a link to. Just make sure you have a social club account, because that is required to leave feedback. Additionally, while this might be a bit of a stretch, I've also created a change.org .org petition that you can sign if you'd like. Now I know this is a pretty small scale issue, but it's important to me and a lot of other GTA 5 car-centric creators, and if there's really any way for us to get the message out there, then I think we should do so. If I come up with any other way of contacting Rockstar Games to get this changed, I will leave that in the description and in the pinned comment. Another great way of getting strength in numbers for this effort is to share this video around, so if you know of anybody who cares about restoring the fun of the LS Tuner vehicles, then please send them this video or point them to the resources that I've outlined so that way we can have our voices heard. That's really all I have to say about this issue now. It's ultimately in the community's hands to get in touch with Rockstar so that maybe one day they'll change the LS Tuner cars back to how they used to be. Now if you guys found this video helpful or informative in any way, please feel free to let me know through a comment or by leaving a like on this video. And if you guys want to see any other GTA 5 drifting content or future updates on this issue in specific, then feel free to subscribe to the channel as well. With that all said, thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day.